Okay, hi everyone. My name is Shreya Jimenez. We're gonna start off first by introducing the wonderful Tucson Language Justice Collective who's here with us. They will be doing live interpretation. If you're unfamiliar with live interpretation, you're gonna click on the globe icon and select which language you would prefer. It works best if you stay in one channel, and if it's working correctly, you'll hear Maria on the line interpreting everything we're saying live in Spanish. So we do ask that everyone please speak slowly so we can allow them a little bit of time to interpret. So welcome. We're gonna do our unpermitted casitas presentation. We're gonna try to go through this really quickly because I think we're gonna have a lot of questions on this topic. I also want to make, well, I'll do introductions next after the agenda. We're gonna have a live poll and then we'll have about an hour for conversation. So again, just our guidelines, please try to speak slowly to assist our Spanish interpreters. Please try not to use the chat or interrupt the presentation till we're in the discussion time. We'll have 60 minutes, so there's plenty of time for questions and answers at that time. And when we are in the discussion, please turn on our cameras. It's greatly appreciated. And we just want to make sure everyone's respectful and people may or may not have done things that are legal or illegal. We just want to be very sensitive to everyone's situation and know that no one's here to get penalized or in trouble. We're here to try to solve problems and work through the issues. So yeah, we just want to make sure everyone's sensitive to each other and the level of experience and knowledge level. Okay, so introductions. I'm Shreya Jimenez. I'm with Cuadro. I do drafting and design work. Wesley Fawcett Cree is also with me. We worked really hard in partnership with the Pima County Community Land Trust to secure grant funding for this info session and upcoming workshops, educational series. We're being funded by the Vitalist Health Foundation and the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona. And we are also, of course, partners with the city of Tucson because we can't, really do anything as far as building without the city and the city's involvement. So we have right now on the line, Dan Bursick. Dan, do you want to say hi?
Sorry, I had to find the mute button. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Bursick. I am the section manager for code development for the city of Tucson, planning and development services. So great to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Maggie is the director of Pima County Community Land Trust. Maggie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Maggie Amadotes with the Pima County Community Land Trust. And if you'd like more information on what we're doing, besides the Mi Casita project, please let us know. And welcome. Thank you.
I'll pass it off to Gigi.
Yeah, I'm Gigi Eldridge, project developer with the Pima County Community Land Trust. We appreciate all of our partners and Shay and Wesley, and thank you to each of you for joining us.
And we have a new member on the Piclet team. We have our ADU project coordinator on the line. Geraldine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Geraldine Aramburo, and yep, I am new to, this is now my second day with Pima County Community Land Trust, and I am the ADU coordinator. So I'm excited to come on board.
Awesome, thank you, everyone. Okay, I think I've got everyone. We have a few other folks from the city. I see Acacia and who else? Is Lauren on the line also? Seamus? Okay, all right, well, that's it for now. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so I was on mute, sorry. These are our project goals. We've gone over these a few times. I'm just gonna skip through this. Here we are in our series of focus groups. We're almost done. We're at the legalized stage, which is this conversation, how do we legalize unpermitted ADUs? But this could also be a larger question about just structures that are unpermitted in general. And again, we have the city online with us to help answer these very technical questions that are going to come, more than likely come up. Our next series and last series for this focus group session will be on the land trust model, and that'll be it for now. Okay, and then, sorry, we're just gonna breeze through this part too. Okay, so there, we do want to update you all that I think in part, to everyone working on this process so far, we have some updates. The separate utility meters are no longer going to be required for ADUs. You can now tap into the existing utilities on site, which is a huge cost savings. So that we have gotten clarification on from development services, which is great. So that's good news for everyone. That's about, as we've talked about before, anywhere, from $15,000 savings, probably depending on the size of your project. Maybe even 5,000 if you're on the super small size. And also there's been a clarification that the sustainability ordinance, which is like the EV charging station, the solar readiness, and the gray water, will not apply to, is not gonna apply to existing structures. So if you're doing, it's only gonna apply to new construction. So if you're doing a remodel or addition, is this correct, Dan? Is there a distinction between remodel versus addition?
No, it would be for existing structures. One thing that, just to clarify on the EV charging, the EV charging plug would only be ones that have the parking next to the unit. You can get a waiver if you have on-street parking or no parking, which most units that do qualify for either a waiver of the parking or to put it on street. So there are some waivers for the new units as well for EV charging.
Okay. I just want to reference again really quickly the impact fees, the impact fee calculator we've talked about in previous sessions. You can kind of start to estimate those costs. And this will come up later because we'll be referencing them. And then here's another reminder, again, what we've already talked about with the ADU versus the sleeping quarters. So we're trying, I think, to get these more in alignment where the guest house isn't going to cost you, or the ADU hopefully will start to come in closer to the cost of what a guest house would be. And so, sustainability ordinance is applicable. I mean, this, again, there's a nuance here with the ADU. Yes, if it's new construction, no, if it's existing. Guest house, no. Permit fees applicable, yes, for the ADU, and yes, for both. Impact fees are, yes, still applicable for the ADU and not for the guest house. And separate utility metering required is going to be no for both, which is great. And then the full kitchen, again, is the main difference between them at this point, which is yes, is allowed for the ADU. And then the size restrictions are there and the differences between them. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the amnesty program, which I, again, am not an expert on. So I will rely heavily on Dan and our city partners here. But I'm going to breeze through it again really quickly, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty next in the questions. So a permit is going to be required for establishing a new dwelling unit. Either new construction or conversion of an existing structure, pretty much no matter what you're doing, if you're trying to build a dwelling, you need a permit. And you're going to need construction documents and a site plan for all of these examples. And so pre-existing unpermitted dwelling units have the opportunity to go through a limited time amnesty program. And it's operating right now on a case basis, and you know, it's all still in development, and we have development services number there below. So your best bet is to call them and discuss all your project details with them. And so, but we're going to go through a quick few examples of kind of what they've been working on and what they're seeing come through. There's some really common types that we're going to see. One of them is this attached porch or garage conversion. So here you have partially a shell of something already built out that could be converted. So in the best case scenario, the structure was already permitted. You have permits for the actual structure, and now you're going to go through and try to convert this into a living space. And the benefit of the amnesty program here, if you've already gone ahead and done this, is that your any fees associated with the permits will be waived. So you won't, and violation fees associated, yeah, so your fees will be waived for that. Because normally if you, did I miss a slide? Normally if you, I think that's in one of the benefits, but basically normally you would be charged twice the permit fee for building without a permit. So you're saving yourself money there. Okay, and another example is this detached sleeping quarters conversion. So there's a lot of people who have guest houses already, who have added kitchens, maybe without permits. And again, you'd get the fees waived in that scenario. And another example is like an detached accessory structure, like a shed or a workshop or a hobby room. Yeah, so basically the benefits are that, you know, so in this example, if you had a 642 square foot ADU, you would have approximately $2,000 in penalty fees waived. So participating in this program also legalizes the ADU, which allows the property owner to obtain separate utility meters if you want them, and or a separate address. And it also allows you to resolve any legal issues with the sale of your house or potential financing problems. And then, and now also sleeping quarters can now basically legally add a full kitchen. So for some people, this might be a very small project. So how do you tell if your casita qualifies? So your casita would have to meet the requirements of the ADU requirements. So the 10%, up to 10% of the lot size is up to 1,000 square feet in gross floor area, 12 feet maximum height. It's got to be located in the rear or side yard if detached. And you've got to meet the setbacks. And if you don't meet the setbacks, you can apply for a DDO, which is a separate process, which I've never really been through because it's quite lengthy and you have to notify all your neighbors, and it takes, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 3 months, and it's not a guarantee either. It's kind of also case by case. So so the other way that when I'm trying to get out of or trying to work around setbacks, the other option you have is if you can get that neighbor who's on your property line, whoever's adjacent to the encroachment, whichever neighbor that is, you can get them to sign a letter that says they're okay with the encroachment, and that's the easier, quicker way to get that done. So those are the two ways with setbacks. We've discussed the neighbor sign off and sent that form out also in previous info sessions. So steps to determine the amnesty process. So I guess basically what was described to us is there's really two separate kind of there's two different types of projects within the unpermitted projects category. There's some projects that they do have permits for the underlying structure. So either you have a garage and you have those building plans and you have the, you know, the drawings, And so it's easier with those projects because you already know what's there. It's already been through the city. It's already been approved. It's easier to get those projects permitted after the fact. I think what's harder is, and what's going to be a much larger project is if the structure you're using or converted if none of it was permitted ever, and you're starting, for the first time with a fully built structure, and you've already done the conversion or you've already added the unit, in that case, you're kind of going to have to go back and drop everything, the existing structure plus whatever modifications were made. So again, it's going to be easier if you're working with a space that was already permitted in some way. And you can go to property research online and research and look up your address, and you can find all the records there for building plans and any work that was done on your property. And the City of Tucson Rehab Fund. So this was mentioned also in the last.
Sorry, Shay. I just wanted to mention real quickly related to property records. The property records online is generally just the stuff that's more recent, like 15, 20 years. If your home was permitted before that, we do have records, but they're like microfiche records. So you'll have to put in a records request and then we would get that for you. Just related to what happened at Mayor and Council today, they did just give us a whole bunch of money to digitize all of those. So hopefully that'll happen in the near future and that'll be really helpful for finding records. But we're not quite there yet. But yeah, that's how that would work.
Thank you, Dan. These are excellent updates. And yes, thank you. Excellent clarifications.
I have a quick question just to piggyback off of that. When did the records, at what year did this permitting process even become formalized in the City of Tucson?
So they go back really far. I was able to find permitting records for my house, and my house was built in 1936. I will say one thing you can do as well is that if your casita or ADU was built before I think it was 48, which is when our first zoning code went in place, you can potentially get that legalized without having to go through this process. So there is that possibility as well.
Okay, so that's the grandfather cutoff date. Okay, because I had that question about there are things that do get buildings that do get grandfathered in, but usually it's buildings that happen before a code update or before a zoning change. Okay, so in this case, it's 1948. Anything built before 1948 will be technically grandfathered in. Okay.
Yeah, so long as it hasn't really changed. I mean, if it's expanded a whole bunch since then and things of that sort, that's another thing. But yeah, that's the cutoff date.
Okay, excellent. These are excellent clarifications. Thank you. Okay, so steps to determine eligibility with the amnesty program is if the structure, okay, so if was the construction of the structure permitted?
I think we did this one, Shay.
Did we do this? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. City of Tucson Rehab Fund. Oh yes, there we go. We're on the rehab fund status. This was something that went into effect with the passing of the ADU ordinance, that the city wanted to put some money towards helping people with unpermitted, potentially with unpermitted structures. So and helping people rehab these ADUs. So it's in process, but we still need final approval, and HCD won't have access. This is all going to be administered and overseen by the City of Tucson Housing and Community Development Department, also known as HCD, and their number and contact information is there. And it's in progress, and it still needs final approval. But they're hoping that by maybe fall of this year, it'll get rolled out. And HCD is going to do all the intake and determine all the eligibility for this. And preferences will probably be given to projects where 10,000 will make a significant impact. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's move on to the live poll, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Yes, so we just have a few questions we thought would be interesting to oh, the slide went away. So I'm putting the link in the chat right now. Olive.com/. So we're just really curious about who might be actually on this call encountering this actual situation. Okay, right now I have the link. So if you're able to take a few minutes right now to do a live poll, I'm going to share my screen so that we can kind of watch the results come in. And yeah, it will just help. Not only will we share this information with our partners at the city, but will also help us kind of tailor the best programming to address these issues within kind of our cohort of Tucson residents. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. And I'm going to present. And so some of us, a quarter of folks more, have an unpermitted dwelling unit on their property. And of those folks, about 75% are not converted space, 25% are. And then no one seems to have yet one that is totally new construction, which is good because as we've outlined, the city is still, and Dan can speak more on this, the city is still trying to figure out what the amnesty process will be for those more complex situations. Are you interested in going through the amnesty program? So that's split 50-50. What are the main reasons that made you to decide to construct this dwelling unit without permitting? So yeah, first is lack of info to know how to navigate the process. Okay, well, it's switching up, but the choices were time, cost, didn't think the project needed permits, and then I inherited unpermitted construction. So all of these questions and obstacles have been coming up a lot. So it's just interesting. It's interesting right now that time is number one, because that is something we've been hearing a lot. And I think we have one more slide. Maybe people are getting to that still. You can always share this in our conversation too, but what additional resources or assistance would you need to participate in the amnesty program? Okay, so I'm gonna stop my share. Money is a big one. I'm gonna stop my sharing my screen so we can just jump into the conversation, but thanks for taking a moment to fill that out. And yeah, I don't know, Shay, if you wanted to share your screen again, we can look at the prompts, but I have a feeling a lot of folks are already coming to this conversation with questions.
Yeah, just really quickly, basically just want to know, more about your projects and then what resources or maybe even potentially what aspects of, zoning or, the process would need to be changed to help facilitate you getting your project legalized. So any and all input would be great.
But yeah, in interest, especially of our interpreters who have been kind of translating this the whole time, especially that last part, Teresa. And and to Dan and Acacia from the city who are here tonight supporting us. Yeah, I think we should close out. You can always reach out to the Mikasita ADU Gmail account with any further questions, and we'll try to connect you to resources. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say, Shay, but otherwise I will just say goodnight and close out the call.